Brinton.
To ask the question, standing in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, the Secretary of State must by law consider whether and to what extent granting a permit for an automated passenger service is likely to help improve understanding of how these services should best be designed for and provided to disabled and older passengers. Accessibility considerations will be set out in non-statutory guidance, and related permit conditions can be enforced through the permitting process. It would be counterproductive to specify detailed requirements in regulations for innovative new services.
His reply, but the key problem with the government's announcement is that the consultation is happening at exactly the same time as the specification and the manufacture of the driverless vehicles that are due to be launched early next year. My Lords, this is literally a once-in-an-era moment, new driverless vehicles hitting our roads. And the government needs to ensure that taxis and bus-like taxis will have accessibility designed into them. Otherwise, it'll be like everything else for disabled people, reasonable adjustments after the event which are expensive for the manufacturer and never perfect for the user. Can the Minister say if the contract with Wave and Oxa will ensure that ramps, audio and visual announcements are designed in right from the start?
So the noble Baroness knows that we do consider the implications of transport for people with disabilities extraordinarily seriously. Whatever individual providers have said, and some of them have said something following the recent announcement by the Secretary of State, it will still be up to the Secretary of State to grant permission under the conditions I described above. And it will also be for taxis and private hire vehicles. They will need local authority consent, and of course that would all be subject to the public sector equality duty. I think where she's going is an assumption that all these services will be provided by newly designed vehicles, and in fact the likelihood is in the very short term that there will be the same sorts of vehicles used for taxi and PHV services. In the medium term, clearly there will be new designs, and there are already some which are suitable for wheelchairs and people with disabilities. I think we have to acknowledge that automated vehicles are part of an exciting future, but they have to be implemented safely, and she's right that they have to be implemented to benefit all parts of the community.
My Lords, in addition to my noble lady Baroness Brinton's question, can I ask my noble friend the Minister what provision there will be for disabled passengers in all HMG's transport plans?
I thank my noble friend for that question. The government is consulting over an integrated transport policy, which will include, of course, provision for disabled people. In the various modes of transport, there is extensive work going on in all cases to accommodate disabled people as fully as we can do it in the provision of public services going forward. Some of them are more difficult than others. The railway is 200 years old this year. Some of its facilities are equally old, but the government is striving to achieve what my noble friend looks for.
To get the Automated Vehicles Act on the statute book before the last election, it puts Britain in a globally leading position to get investment and technology and be global leaders in this important technology. I strongly support what the Baroness Brinton, the noble lady, the Baroness Brinton said, though. We should be ambitious about making this technology accessible for everyone. Automated vehicles have the potential to improve the life chances and the independence of all of those who've got a disability that means they can't drive themselves. And I'd urge the Minister to be as ambitious as he can and to go as fast as he can in getting this technology onto our roads. It's safe, we're leaders in it, and it's a real opportunity for Great Britain.
There must have been a shadow of a question in there somewhere, but I agree with the noble lord that it is an exciting prospect, and he is right that the potential here is to increase mobility for the community and for and for people with disabilities if we get it right. I have great sympathy with the Noble Baroness in terms of striving to make sure that disability is treated in the mainstream. But I think if we're going to do this quickly, then we have to recognise that in fact the early adoption under this Act is likely to be the same sorts of vehicles as are used now. What you are looking for in the medium-term future is new designs, which should of course have the facilities like audio-visual equipment and facilities for people in wheelchairs that she would expect to have.
Crossbench. Crossbench.
My Lords, could the Noble Lord the Minister comment on what licences will be given to rural areas? We're very short of buses, both for people with disability but also for the ordinary population. Surely these kind of vehicles would be ideal in small remote villages so that people could access essential services.
The Noble Baroness is of course entirely right, and one of the really good prospects here is the provision of public services to people in rural areas where buses, with the best will in the world and despite the government's groundbreaking bus legislation, will not serve every need of the community because of the sparse population. That community is also getting older, and there are many people there who can't drive. So there's a real opportunity here in autonomous vehicles fulfilling the need for public services in a way that actually conventional buses and taxis really can't do. I think it's a really exciting future, but I go back to the Noble Baroness Brinton's point, which is that we do have to design in, so far as we can, facilities for disabled people amongst this, but we also, as the Noble Lord said opposite, we have to get going with this because it's such an exciting future.
Area of accessibility, what work has the government carried out to determine liability in collisions involving self-drive vehicles as part of this pilot, given that human error will be removed from the equation?
Well, the Noble Baroness is right. Safety has to be the first priority here, and there's been a great deal of work worldwide on this. And clearly one of the primary consideration for the adoption of autonomous vehicles is safety, so that actually people are not endangered by new technology but assisted by it. I'll write to her about the precise steps that the government has taken in the UK on this, but it is of course being addressed on a worldwide basis.
Spoke in the other place of the importance of getting disabled people into work. May I ask the Noble Lord the Minister in what way the retro ad hoc inclusion of disabled people facilitates the realisation of that worthy goal, and also could he confirm that the Minister for Disabled People and Social Security in the other place was specifically consulted on the points that he has made?
I think the government is really committed to including people with disabilities into mainstream life and into work. And I think the availability of autonomous vehicles ought over time to enable that more fully, as we've described in rural areas, for example, than happens now. The government has consulted extensively over where it goes and what it does in this respect, and I will make sure that my department has consulted with all necessary other departments in this, but I would believe that to be the case without doubt.
My Lords, the Noble Baroness Lady Brinton and other Noble Lords have made some very important points, but could I draw the attention of the Minister to an account in the Daily Telegraph this week of a report from the UN Office of Counter-Terrorism suggesting the real likelihood that these automated vehicles could be programmed by terrorists so as to launch mass attacks upon pedestrians in our streets, so-called slaughter bots. This is a grave matter, my Lords. Can the Noble Lord say if he has read that report, and can he give an assurance that these vehicles will not be allowed on our streets unless that risk has been eliminated?
I've no doubt the noble lord spends far longer reading the Daily Telegraph than I have time for, and as it happens, I didn't read that particular article, but I do know of the subject, and of course we have to be concerned in all aspects of national security that things controlled by clever computers and technology aren't misused by those who are enemies of the state anywhere, and it's also a common issue with these vehicles around the world. So I'm not going to say any more about that now, other than the fact that the government knows perfectly well that this is a possibility, and were it to take action, it would be very careful about, or when it takes action on this, as it takes action, it will make sure that the risk to the public is absolutely minimised.
Lords, that